Shalom and welcome back to another program. Today I'm going to talk about biblical examples of answered prayers. They're spread out throughout the Old and New Testament, and I just want to share them with you. I've had answered prayers before. Sometimes educational prayers where I have to stop and think about it because it's not the answer I was expecting. But anyways, I want to share some of these with you, and hopefully it'll edify you and give you and continue your faith in Yeshua and Yahweh. So with that said and done, let me begin with Abraham. Abraham miraculously received a son in his old age. You can find that in Genesis 15 verses 1 through 6, and then down to 21 1 through 3. Abraham was a very old man. Him and Sarah couldn't conceive. They didn't have no children. They tried and they tried. Yahweh, he promised them they would have a seed. And to bypass that, of course, Sarah had a maidservant, Hagar, to go in there and have a son. Tried to go around, the waiting period that Yahweh designated. They had Ishmael, but he was the firstborn, but he wasn't technically the firstborn according to Yahweh. But the son was Isaac. Isaac finally came. The next one here is Elijah, or you could say Lazarus, but he's the one that he was a servant of Abraham who found a bride for Isaac. And that bride was Rebecca. So you can find that in Genesis 24, verse 12 through 27. And I say read all this up and check the Bible. Don't check me. These are interesting stories in themselves. Next one is Jacob. He found favor with his estranged brother Esau. Genesis 32, 9 through 12, 33, 1 through 4. That was a sibling rivalry over the birthright blessings. And I'll let you read the whole story about that. But, they finally reconciled after so many years apart. Jacob still feared that his brother was going to kill him, holding a grudge, but that wasn't the case. Now we'll go to Job, the prophet Job. He received blessings after he repented. After repentance, he actually received his restored blessings back. He never badmouthed Yahweh or turned his back on him for all these plagues that the devil leashed out at him. But you can find that in Job 42, verse 1 through 10. Now we'll jump down to Moses. Of course, we all know Moses, one of the greatest prophets ever. He saved Israel from destruction. They were so bad that Yahweh was going to just literally destroy them. Destroy the people and start new with Moses' family and his seed. You can find that in Exodus 32, 9 through 14. Numbers 11, 1 through 3. You go to chapter 14, verse 13 through 20, 21, 5, verse 9, or through 9. So that's, that tells you a lot of times that Yahweh wasn't pleased with the children of Israel, the ones that complained and murmured and wanted to go back to Egypt, didn't have enough food, drink, things like that. Next, we're going to go to Moses' successor, Joshua. He asked for the sun to stand still. You remember that story? We all do. Remember that story? The sun stood still up there. You can find that in Joshua chapter 10, verse 12 through 14. Now we'll go to the judge named Gideon. He received signs of Yahweh's commission. You can find that in the book of Judges 6, verses 13 to 21, and then verses 36 through 40. Gideon was a righteous judge, and we all know about him. He was probably one of the best judges, Israel had, in the book of Judges, that is. Now we'll go to Samson, which, everybody knows Samson too, the strong man, had incredible superhuman strength. He gained superhuman strength from one last victory. Judges 16, verse 28 to 30. That's when, after his eyes were gouged out, his hair was cut, and he was weakened. His hair started growing back, and his hands were, placed on both sides, both pillars. He was in between them, and he prayed for strength, the one last spurt of strength, and he took down the whole building, killing himself and all the Philistines. Now Hannah conceived a son. She prayed and conceived a son, and that was the prophet and the last judge Samuel. You can find that in 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 10 through 11, 19 through 20. Now we'll go to Samuel, the prophet. Supernatural deliverance from the Philistine army. 1 Samuel 7, verse 5 to 10. Now, David, King David, to find victories in battle. He was a faithful one. He always prayed. He prayed to Yahweh. And you can find that in 1 Samuel 23, verse 4 to 5, 30, 8 to 10. Then verses 16 to 18. 2 Samuel 5, 19 to 21. So yeah, he was a man after Yahweh's own heart. He loved him and did the best he could. He fell once or twice to temptation and sin, but he always prayed and did what he did. He consulted with Yahweh to see what was going on, and if this was right, that was right, and if it was his, the sovereign's will. Now we'll go to Solomon. King Solomon received great wisdom. You can find that in 1 Kings 3, verse 5 through 12. And hey, doggy. And anyways, here you go. You can find that. It's very fascinating because he could have had wealth, women, he could have had anything, but he prayed for wisdom. He wanted righteous wisdom. And that touched Yahweh's heart so much, he granted it to him. That's why, Solomon, he's known for being the wisest man ever. I mean, besides Yeshua, he's the wisest man ever. But, he's still, towards the end, his pagan wives kind of turned his heart away from Yahweh. Now we'll go to King Asa. Was granted protection from the Ethiopians. 2 Chronicles, chapter 14, 11 through 12. Jehoshaphat gained victory over Moab and Ammon. 2 Chronicles 20, verses 1 through 25. These are kings. Now we'll go to one of the other greatest prophets ever in the Old Testament. That's Elijah. Widow's son restored to life. 1 Kings 17, 20 to 22. And the sacrifice at Mount Carmel. 1 Kings 18, 36 to 39. And the sacrifice when he went up against the prophets of Baal, 450. And I really highly recommend you read that story because it's like a super, like a Marvel moment, like, superhero against, these villains and everything. And it's really, it'd blow your mind. Now, go to Jonah, escaped from the belly of the great fish. Jonah 2. Hezekiah, righteous king. When his enemy's army was defeated, another king come over and wanted to invade him, push him around, but he prayed and Yahweh helped him out, and the army was destroyed. You find that in 2 Kings 19, verses 14 to 20. And then you go to 37. He also prayed and he received 15 more years of life. Sun retreated 10 degrees in the sky. 2 Kings 20, verse 1 through 11. He was on his deathbed, and this poor king, this man of valor and spiritual righteousness, he was dying and he was in his bed crying, and he was praying to live just a little bit longer. And what happened was Yahweh heard his cries and had pity on him. He had mercy on him. And he instructed the prophet Isaiah to come over and tell him that, his prayers were heard and they're answered. And he's granted 15 more years to life to do the work of Yahweh. I find that very touching. Now you got Isaiah here, the prophet. He was spiritually cleansed. Isaiah 6:5-7. It just says right here, even the prophets weren't perfect at times. And, at the beginning, Jeremiah said he was too young. Isaiah said, he had impure lips. Jonah, he ran the other way when he was instructed to go to Nineveh. Okay, we'll go to Esther. Nation was spared by prayer and fasting. Esther 4:5. She was the queen, and then you had these certain groups of people who didn't like the Jewish people, and they tried to get a decree to really mess with the Jewish people, but it backfired on this party, and they ended up imprisoned or killed, executed. I will go to Daniel's 3 friends here. Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, delivered from a fiery furnace. He was they were all in a fiery furnace. Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian king, put them in there. You can find that in Daniel 2 verses 17-18, and then you look at chapter 3. So they were delivered from the fiery furnace. Daniel spared from the furious lions. Daniel 6, he was thrown into the lion's den, and they went and checked on him many hours later, and he was alive, and the lion was sitting there just sleeping, just like a little puppy or something, just harmless as can be. And the king and them marveled as what was going on, and they took him out. And they believed he was with Yahweh. Now we'll go to New Testament here, where it's Yeshua. Of course, he's got so many. Healed the sick, gave sight to the blind, raised the dead. John 11:1-4, 11-14, 41-44 of the verses. Now we'll go to the apostles. The apostles received Yahweh's guidance and ordination. Acts 1:23-26. And then the boldness and miraculous power they had was in Acts chapter 4:24-33. So, taking all that, and there's more in there. I just touched up on these handful here, just to try to let you know that Yahweh still answers your prayers. He answers your prayers if they're just and if they're preached right and all the requirements. I can't just sit there and haphazardly pray and say, can I hit the lottery? Can the Bengals win the Super Bowl, or something like that? It's got to be not selfish, and or anything like that. It's got to be from the heart. It's got to be meaningful. It's got to be, and you got to honor Yahweh too. You got to give him all the honor and credit and all the thankfulness and stuff like that, and petition him, righteously, and he'll listen to you, and you just keep bombarding him. There ain't no problem with that. But anyways, I just wanted to share them with you, and you keep up praying and everything, and reading your scriptures and doing good, and live by the example, live out in public, because you're a walking example of, a member and a citizen of the kingdom of Yahweh. So with that said, I want to thank you again. Please subscribe to my channel, like me, hit my notification bell, comment below. You're always welcome to share this video with anybody and everybody if you can. And with that said and done, thank you again. Shalom. Peace out.